The low hum of servers filled the underground command center, a cathedral of technology buried beneath the rocky landscape of Colorado. Jack Thompson studied the holographic displays, his weathered fingers tracing lines of data that told a story far more complex than most humans, or aliens, could comprehend. 30 years earlier, the world had changed. Not with a bang, not with a war, but with a quiet decision that would alter humanity's trajectory forever. Jack remembered the day as if it were yesterday. He had been a junior analyst in the Global Intelligence Network, barely 30 years old, when the convergence happened. It wasn't a single event, but a perfect storm of technological, environmental, and geopolitical pressures that forced humanity's hand. The climate crisis of 2035 had pushed civilization to the brink. Coastal megacities were drowning, agricultural systems were collapsing, and global tensions had reached a breaking point. Traditional power structures were crumbling, and for the first time in human history, national boundaries meant almost nothing. But something else happened that year, something that never made it into any public record. A signal. Not from aliens, not from some distant star system, but from something deeper. Something that suggested humanity was not alone, and not at the top of the universal food chain. The signal was brief, encrypted in a pattern so complex that it took the world's most advanced supercomputers months to even begin decoding its initial layers. What they discovered terrified them. Jack pulled up an old memory file, a classified recording from the emergency summit that changed everything. World leaders, typically divided by politics and ideology, sat in absolute silence. No posturing, no speeches, just a collective understanding that their previous methods of survival were obsolete. Dr. Elizabeth Reyes, then the lead scientist at the Global Technological Consortium, had presented the findings. Her holographic presentation showed complex mathematical models, astronomical data, and intercepted signal fragments that painted a chilling picture. "We are not preparing for a potential threat," she had said, her voice calm and precise. "We are already in the crosshairs of something far beyond our current understanding." The decision was unanimous and unprecedented. Complete technological camouflage, total communication suppression, a global strategy of absolute silence. Jack's current project was the culmination of those decisions. The Communication Suppression Initiative wasn't just about hiding. It was about preparing, evolving, and understanding. The gravitational anomalies he was tracking were the first signs that their preparation might soon be tested. Sophisticated sensors, hidden in satellites and underground stations around the globe, were detecting microscopic disturbances at the edge of the solar system. Something was approaching. Something that didn't follow any known physical laws. He pulled up the latest data stream. Complex algorithms, developed over decades, translated the minute gravitational variations into potential scenarios. Each simulation was more unsettling than the last. A notification blinked on his secondary screen. An encrypted message from Emma Rodriguez, his primary field coordinator. She had been monitoring deep space communication channels and had discovered something unusual. Jack's hand hovered over the decryption key. Whatever was in that message would likely change everything they had prepared for. Outside the command center, the world continued its daily rhythm. Billions of people went about their lives, completely unaware of the silent war being waged on their behalf. Unaware that every technological advancement, every seemingly random research project, every global collaboration was part of a massive, intricate plan. Humanity was not just preparing to defend itself, it was preparing to survive. And silence, Jack knew, would be their greatest weapon. The alien vessel drifted through the inky blackness of space, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in impossible geometries. Captain Zernak of the Confederation exploration vessel Quantum Horizon leaned forward, multiple optical sensors focusing on the unremarkable blue-green planet ahead. "Initiate primary scan," he commanded, his vocalization translator converting complex biochemical signals into standard communication protocols. Lieutenant Karax began the initial survey, her appendages dancing across holographic interfaces. Standard procedure dictated a comprehensive analysis of any potentially habitable world. But this planet was different. Frustratingly, infuriatingly different. Decades of long-range observations had yielded almost nothing. No consistent radio emissions. No clear technological signatures. Just silence. The initial data streams began populating the ship's central display. Primitive communication signals flickered at the edges of detection. Old-style radio broadcasts, satellite communications that seemed decades behind the technological curve. Yet something about these signals felt off. "Captain," Karax called out, "I'm detecting inconsistencies in the electromagnetic emissions." Zirnak's secondary sensory clusters vibrated with irritation. The Confederation had been watching this planet for generations. Earth, they called it. A world that seemed simultaneously primitive and deeply mysterious. Historical records showed multiple attempts at investigation. Probes had been launched, subtle reconnaissance missions conducted. Each time, something inexplicable happened. Sensors would fail. Communication would drop. Entire research vessels would return with corrupted data and inexplicable system failures. The bridge grew tense. Each crew member understood the significance of this mission. The Galactic Confederation had many unresolved questions about Earth, and this expedition was meant to provide definitive answers. Inside a hidden monitoring station deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Jack Thompson watched the alien vessels approach with calculated calm. Emma Rodriguez stood beside him, her fingers dancing across a quantum interface that looked like nothing more than an abstract piece of art to the untrained eye. "They're running standard reconnaissance protocols," Emma observed. Her voice was clinical, devoid of emotion. "Predictable approach, textbook scan methodology." Jack allowed himself a slight smile. Predictability was humanity's camouflage. Every signal, every piece of technological leakage was carefully constructed, an elaborate performance designed to mislead and misdirect. The alien vessel began its detailed survey. Quantum scanners probed the planet's surface, attempting to penetrate its atmospheric and geological layers. Each scan was met with carefully prepared responses, technological mirages that would satisfy surface-level investigation while revealing nothing of substance. Aboard the Quantum Horizon, frustration began to mount. Captain Zirnak reviewed the incoming data streams. Something was wrong. The planet's technological signature made no sense. It was simultaneously too primitive and too consistent. "Lieutenant," he called, "run a comparative analysis against our previous reconnaissance data." Karax complied, her multiple processing units working in parallel. The results were bizarre. Micro-variations in electromagnetic emissions suggested technological capabilities far beyond what the surface scans indicated. But these variations were so subtle, so deeply buried, that they could easily be dismissed as sensor errors. In the underground command center, Jack and Emma exchanged a knowing glance. Every scan, every probe was exactly what they wanted the aliens to see. "Quantum network status?" Jack asked. Emma's fingers moved across the interface. A network of communication nodes, buried beneath major cities, quantum entangled and completely undetectable by conventional scanning methods, hummed with activity. "All systems nominal," she reported. "Misdirection protocols are functioning at 99.7% efficiency." The alien vessel continued its survey, completely unaware that it was seeing exactly what humanity wanted it to see. Every technological breadcrumb was a carefully placed illusion. Every signal a calculated deception. Humanity was watching. Humanity was waiting. And humanity was far from defenseless. As the Quantum Horizon completed its initial survey, Captain Zirnak felt an unusual sensation that translated closest to human uncertainty. Something about this planet felt wrong. Little did he know, that was precisely the point. The Galactic Confederation's Research Council convened in a massive spherical chamber, its walls a living membrane of holographic data and pulsing communication networks. Hundreds of delegates from across known space assembled, their collective anxiety focused on a single point of discussion. The enigma of Earth. "We cannot continue to accept these inconclusive results," declared Architect Frental, Supreme Coordinator of Exploratory Missions. His translucent form flickered with barely contained frustration, tendrils of bioluminescent energy cascading around his crystalline body. The latest reconnaissance mission had been an unmitigated disaster. 3 advanced research probes had been dispatched to Earth, each designed to penetrate the most sophisticated planetary defenses. Each probe had mysteriously failed. The first probe, a microscopic nanite swarm capable of molecular-level infiltration, simply ceased to exist moments after entering Earth's outer atmosphere. Communication logs showed no system failure, no external interference. It was as if the probe had been erased from existence. The second probe, a quantum-entangled observation network, experienced progressive system degradation that defied all known technological principles. Its data streams became increasingly nonsensical, filled with what appeared to be deliberate mathematical interference patterns. The third probe was the most disturbing. A high-energy molecular scanner designed to map planetary infrastructure at unprecedented resolution. It transmitted exactly 3 minutes of data before its entire computational matrix collapsed into what could only be described as pure quantum noise. Emma Rodriguez watched these developments from the underground command center, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface that looked like an abstract painting of interconnected light streams. "They're getting closer," she said to Jack Thompson, who stood nearby studying the alien communication intercepts. Jack nodded. Humanity's defensive strategy was a delicate dance of revelation and misdirection. Each failed probe was a carefully choreographed performance, designed to send precisely the right message to the alien observers. Aboard the Quantum Horizon, Captain Zeranak reviewed the probe failure reports. His secondary neural clusters worked in overdrive, analyzing every microscopic detail. Something was fundamentally wrong with their understanding of Earth. The ship's primary intelligence analyst, a being known as Krelix, presented a series of hypotheses. The mathematical interference we're detecting suggests a level of technological sophistication that contradicts every observable parameter, Krelix reported, multiple holographic displays spinning around their translucent form. What the aliens didn't know was that each probe failure was a carefully constructed illusion. Humanity's defensive network was a multi-layered system of quantum deflection, molecular reconfiguration, and information manipulation that made the probes believe they were being destroyed while actually being redirected or neutralized. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a massive computational array hummed with activity. Quantum processors worked in perfect synchronization, creating elaborate technological mirages that would befuddle any attempted planetary investigation. Jack pulled up a schematic that looked like a complex neural network. To the untrained eye, it might have been an abstract piece of art. To those who understood, it was a global defense system unlike anything in known space. "Probe 4 is approaching," Emma announced, her voice calm and clinical. The alien research vessel prepared its most advanced investigative tool yet, a molecular resonance scanner capable of penetrating planetary defenses at unprecedented depths. If something was hiding on Earth, this probe would find it. Or so they believed. In truth, humanity was always 3 steps ahead. The probe would see exactly what they wanted it to see, a carefully constructed illusion of a planet caught between technological adolescence and potential emergence. Captain Zeranak watched the incoming data streams, a sense of increasing unease spreading through his neural network. Something about Earth felt wrong. Not threatening, exactly, but waiting. Always waiting. As the probe began its descent, Jack allowed himself the slightest smile. Another layer of humanity's grand strategy was about to be revealed, or rather, carefully concealed. The dance of deception continued. The diplomatic vessel approached Earth with unprecedented caution. Its hull was a marvel of adaptive technology, capable of shifting molecular structures to avoid detection, absorb radiation, and process information at speeds that would make human supercomputers seem like ancient abacuses. Ambassador Zelra of the Galactic Confederation Diplomatic Corps understood that this mission was unlike any in recent galactic history. Earth had become an obsession, a puzzle that defied every known protocol of first contact and interstellar investigation. Inside the vessel's central communication hub, holographic displays flickered with centuries of accumulated data about human civilization. Contradictions abounded. Primitive radio signals juxtaposed with hints of extraordinary technological potential. Moments of apparent technological regression followed by inexplicable scientific leaps. Emma Rodriguez studied the incoming transmission patterns from her underground command center. Every signal, every potential communication channel was a carefully constructed narrative. "They're getting closer," she whispered to Jack Thompson, who was analyzing quantum interference patterns on a holographic display that seemed to dance with living light. Jack nodded. The diplomatic approach was the moment they had been preparing for over 3 decades. A carefully choreographed performance was about to begin. Aboard the diplomatic vessel, Ambassador Zelra consulted with the mission's primary computational strategist. "Run another comprehensive scan," they commanded, multiple sensory appendages moving with calculated precision. The scan began. A complex web of quantum probes, molecular resonance detectors, and advanced communication interceptors. Each layer of investigation was designed to penetrate the most sophisticated planetary defenses. What the aliens didn't realize was that they were seeing exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Deep beneath the Colorado mountain range, a global network of quantum processors worked in perfect synchronization. Each probe, each scan was met with a meticulously constructed response. Technological mirages that would satisfy surface-level investigation while revealing nothing of substance. The first layer of defense was misdirection. Subtle electromagnetic emissions suggested a civilization trapped between technological adolescence and potential emergence. Radio signals that seemed decades old, satellite communications that appeared rudimentary, infrastructure that looked barely capable of global communication. But beneath this carefully constructed illusion, humanity prepared. Jack pulled up a complex schematic that looked like an impossible neural network. To the untrained eye, it might have been an abstract piece of technological art. To those who understood, it was a global defense system that defied comprehension. "Diplomatic approach is entering final verification stage," Emma reported, her voice clinical and precise. The alien vessel began its most comprehensive scan yet. Molecular-level probes attempted to penetrate Earth's atmospheric and geological layers. Quantum communication interceptors searched for hidden technological signatures. Each probe was met with a perfectly calculated response. In orbital stations hidden from conventional detection, advanced defensive systems powered up, not as weapons, but as elaborate misdirection mechanisms. Technologies so advanced they could manipulate the very perception of technological capability. Ambassador Zelra felt an unusual sensation that translated closest to human uncertainty. The scan results made no sense. Contradictory data streams suggested a civilization that was simultaneously primitive and impossibly advanced. Hints of technological capabilities far beyond what the surface scans indicated began to emerge. But these hints were so subtle, so deeply buried, that they could easily be dismissed as sensor errors. Jack allowed himself the slightest smile. Another layer of humanity's grand strategy was about to be revealed, or rather, carefully concealed. The diplomatic vessel continued its approach, completely unaware that it was navigating through an elaborate technological maze. Every technological breadcrumb was a carefully placed illusion, every signal a calculated deception. Humanity was watching. Humanity was waiting. And humanity was far from defenseless. As the final scan commenced, the true complexity of Earth's preparation began to reveal itself, not as a threat, but as a carefully constructed mystery that would challenge everything the Galactic Confederation thought they knew about emerging civilizations. The communication chamber aboard the diplomatic vessel hummed with anticipation. Ambassador Zelra reviewed the transmission protocols, knowing that this moment would be recorded in galactic historical archives for centuries to come. First contact with Earth would not be a moment of simple greeting. It would be a complex dance of information, perception, and carefully measured revelation. The first transmission was deceptively simple, a standard mathematical sequence, prime numbers, followed by a complex harmonic pattern that seemed to dance between mathematical precision and artistic expression. To the untrained observer, it might appear as a basic communication attempt. But nothing about Earth was ever that simple. In the underground command center, Jack Thompson and Emma Rodriguez watched the transmission unfold with calculated calm. Every character, every mathematical sequence was a carefully constructed message, layers of meaning embedded within what seemed like a straightforward communication attempt. "Initiate response protocol," Jack murmured, his fingers hovering over a holographic interface that looked more like an abstract painting than a communication system. The human response was a masterpiece of deliberate ambiguity. The return transmission began with the same mathematical sequence, but subtly altered. Embedded within the data stream were microscopic information packets, technological breadcrumbs that suggested capabilities far beyond what the aliens had detected in previous scans. Aboard the diplomatic vessel, computational analysts worked furiously to decode the transmission. What seemed like a simple mathematical exchange was actually a complex information transfer that defied conventional communication protocols. Ambassador Zelra felt a growing sense of unease. Something about this communication was fundamentally different from any first contact scenario in galactic history. The transmission contained multiple layers of information. Surface-level mathematical communication, embedded technological signatures, subtle references to complex scientific principles, carefully constructed linguistic patterns that suggested both technological sophistication and deliberate limitation. Each layer was a carefully placed piece of a much larger puzzle. Analyze the tertiary communication bands, Zelra commanded the ship's primary intelligence analyst. Most of the communication team would miss the subtle nuances, but the highest-level analysts would begin to see the true complexity of the transmission. In the Colorado Command Center, Emma Rodriguez smiled. The transmission was working exactly as planned. "They're starting to see the first layer," she told Jack. "Quantum interference markers are generating the expected response." The alien communication networks began to buzz with speculation. Initial analysis suggested that Earth was not the primitive planet they had assumed. Something far more complex was emerging. Hints of technological capabilities began to circulate through diplomatic channels. Advanced computational models suggested that the mathematical sequences contained embedded information about quantum communication technologies far beyond current galactic standards. But each hint was carefully constructed, revealing just enough to generate curiosity, while concealing the true depth of human technological capabilities. Jack pulled up a holographic display that showed the global network of quantum communication nodes. To the untrained eye, it might have looked like an impossibly complex piece of abstract art. To those who understood, it was a global defense and communication system that defied conventional understanding. The diplomatic vessel's communication teams worked furiously. Each attempt to fully decode the transmission revealed new layers of complexity. It was as if the message was simultaneously simple and impossibly complex, a technological Rorschach test that reflected back whatever the observer expected to see. Ambassador Zelra realized something profound was happening. This was not a typical first contact scenario. This was a carefully orchestrated performance, with Earth controlling every aspect of the interaction. As galactic communication networks began to light up with speculation, humanity watched and waited. Each transmission was a calculated move in a much larger strategic game, a game where the rules were being written in real time. The true message was clear. Earth was not what it seemed, and it was prepared for whatever might come next. The Confederation's central communication hub erupted into chaos. Holographic displays flickered with unprecedented intensity, showcasing transmission analyses, speculation streams, and real-time diplomatic discussions from across known space. "This is impossible," declared Research Director Krelix, multiple sensory appendages manipulating complex data projections. The communication patterns from Earth defy every known interstellar communication protocol. What had begun as a simple first contact attempt had transformed into the most significant galactic communication event in centuries. Earth's initial transmission continued to baffle the most advanced computational systems in known space. Each attempt to fully decode the message revealed new layers of complexity, mathematical sequences that seemed to shift and change, technological signatures that existed in impossible quantum states. In the underground command center, Jack Thompson and Emma Rodriguez watched the galactic response with calculated precision. "They're exactly where we want them to be," Emma observed, her fingers tracing quantum interference patterns on a holographic display that looked like living light. The galactic communication networks had entered what historians would later call the Great Speculation. Hundreds of civilizations began analyzing and reanalyzing the Earth transmission. Research teams worked around the clock, building increasingly complex models to understand the communication's underlying structure. Ambassador Zelra found themselves at the center of an unprecedented diplomatic storm. The Confederation's highest-level communication analysts had produced multiple contradictory reports about Earth's transmission. One analysis suggested Earth possessed communication technology centuries beyond current galactic standards. Another report indicated the transmission was an elaborate misdirection. A third perspective argued that the communication was a form of advanced mathematical art. The uncertainty was deliberate. Humanity had constructed a message that was simultaneously revealing and completely opaque. Diplomatic channels began to shift. Civilizations that had previously dismissed Earth as a primitive backwater now approached with unprecedented caution. The quantum communication signatures embedded in the transmission suggested capabilities that defied conventional understanding. Jack pulled up a global network schematic, a complex web of quantum communication nodes that looked more like an impossible piece of technological artwork than a communication system. To those who understood, it was a global defense network of unimaginable sophistication. "Diplomatic pressure is building," Emma reported. "Multiple civilizations are requesting additional communication attempts." The Confederation's Research Council convened an emergency session. Holographic representations of delegates from across known space flickered and shifted, their collective anxiety palpable. "We cannot approach Earth with our previous assumptions," declared the senior diplomatic coordinator. "Whatever is happening, this is not a typical emerging civilization." Hints of technological capabilities began to circulate through classified communication channels. Advanced computational models suggested that the mathematical sequences contained embedded information about technologies far beyond current galactic understanding. But each hint was carefully constructed, revealing just enough to generate curiosity, while concealing the true depth of human technological capabilities. Speculation ran wild. Some believed Earth was preparing for a massive technological emergence. Others argued it was an elaborate defensive strategy. A few radical theorists suggested that humanity had been quietly developing technologies that could fundamentally challenge existing galactic power structures. The truth was far more complex. In the Colorado Command Center, Jack allowed himself the slightest smile. Every moment of uncertainty, every confused diplomatic communication, was a carefully placed piece of a much larger strategic puzzle. "Communication Phase 2 is approaching," he told Emma. The global network of quantum processors hummed with activity. Microscopic information packets were being prepared, technological breadcrumbs that would further complicate the galactic understanding of Earth. Ambassador Zelra reviewed the latest communication analyses. Something fundamental had changed. Earth was no longer just another potential emerging civilization. It had become an enigma that challenged everything the Confederation thought they understood about technological development. As galactic communication networks continued to buzz with speculation, humanity watched and waited. Each transmission was a calculated move in a much larger strategic game, a game where the rules were being written in real time. The message was clear. Earth was not what it seemed, and it was prepared for whatever might come next. The global demonstration was meticulously planned, not a show of force, but a calculated revelation of capabilities that would reshape galactic understanding. Deep within the International Advanced Research Complex, located beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Catherine Miller reviewed the final preparation protocols. Decades of silent development were about to be partially unveiled, just enough to generate profound uncertainty without revealing the full depth of human technological capabilities. Jack Thompson and Emma Rodriguez monitored the global communication networks from their underground command center. Every transmission, every technological hint was a carefully choreographed performance. "Initiate Phase 1, Jack commanded. The first demonstration was subtle, a series of quantum communication bursts that traversed impossible distances, using principles of physics that most galactic civilizations had only theorized about. The transmission appeared to originate from multiple locations simultaneously, a technological impossibility that would force alien researchers to question everything they understood about communication technologies. Aboard the Confederation diplomatic vessel, communication analysts worked furiously. The transmission defied conventional understanding. Quantum entanglement signatures that suggested faster-than-light communication. Mathematical sequences that hinted at multidimensional information transfer. Technological markers that existed in simultaneous probabilistic states. Ambassador Zelra watched in growing disbelief. These were not the transmissions of a developing civilization. These were glimpses of technologies that challenged fundamental understanding of physical laws. The second demonstration targeted energy systems. Subtle signals suggested humanity had developed energy generation and transmission technologies that made current galactic standards look primitive. Zero-point energy extraction, quantum vacuum manipulation, concepts that were theoretical abstractions to most civilizations appeared to be practical technologies for Earth. Research Director Krelix compiled the initial analysis. The data was extraordinary. Energy transmission with near-perfect efficiency. Matter-energy conversion rates that defied known physical limitations. Quantum coherence maintenance at unprecedented scales. Emma tracked the global response. "Diplomatic networks are in complete confusion," she reported to Jack. "They're receiving just enough information to generate maximum uncertainty." The third demonstration was perhaps the most profound. A brief, controlled demonstration of gravitational manipulation, a technology so advanced it was considered impossible by most galactic civilizations. The transmission included mathematical proofs and experimental data that suggested humanity had not just theorized about gravitational control, but had developed practical applications. "They're seeing what we want them to see," Jack observed, studying the holographic displays that looked more like living art than communication interfaces. Galactic communication networks erupted. Research teams worked around the clock, attempting to decode and understand the technological breadcrumbs. Each analysis revealed new layers of complexity. Some believe humanity had discovered fundamental physics principles unknown to other civilizations. Others argued this was an elaborate diplomatic strategy of technological misdirection. A few radical theorists suggested Earth possessed technologies that could fundamentally reshape galactic power structures. The truth was far more complex. Catherine Miller watched the global response from her command center. Every demonstration was carefully measured, revealing capabilities while concealing the true depth of human technological development. Decades of silent preparation were bearing fruit. Strategic alliances began to shift. Civilizations that had previously dismissed Earth now approached with unprecedented caution. The technological signatures suggested capabilities far beyond a typical emerging civilization. Ambassador Zelra realized something fundamental had changed. Earth was no longer just another potential technological emergence. It had become a fundamental challenge to existing galactic understanding. As galactic communication networks continued to buzz with speculation, humanity watched and waited. Each technological demonstration was a calculated move in a much larger strategic game, a game where the rules were being written in real time. The message was clear: Earth was not what it seemed, and it was prepared for whatever might come next. The silent preparation was ending. A new chapter was about to begin. The final revelation would change everything. In a moment of unprecedented galactic communication, humanity would explain why it had remained silent for decades, why it had prepared, why it had waited. The Confederation's central communication hub fell silent as the transmission began. Jack Thompson and Emma Rodriguez stood together in the underground command center, watching the culmination of humanity's most ambitious strategic plan. Dr. Catherine Miller's holographic image appeared simultaneously across thousands of communication networks. Her presentation was both a confession and a warning, a narrative that would reshape galactic understanding forever. "We were not preparing for you," she began, her voice calm and precise. "We were preparing for something else." The transmission revealed a truth more terrifying than any technological demonstration. Embedded within decades of research and silent preparation was a discovery that would challenge everything known about cosmic existence. A threat was coming, not from any known civilization, not from any understood dimension of space or time. The data streams began to flow. Mathematical models, astronomical observations, quantum interference patterns, all pointing to something fundamental and horrifying. A cosmic event that would threaten not just individual civilizations, but the entire fabric of galactic existence. Holographic displays across the Confederation's communication networks showed impossible data. Quantum anomalies at the edge of known space. Gravitational distortions that defied current physical understanding. Energy signatures that existed beyond conventional dimensional parameters. Ambassador Zelra watched in growing comprehension. Humanity had not been preparing for first contact. They had been preparing for survival. The transmission revealed humanity's true purpose. Decades of silent technological development. Global cooperation unprecedented in human history. A unified strategy of preparation and defense. "We detected the initial signs in 2035, Catherine explained. A quantum resonance pattern that suggested something was approaching. Something that existed beyond our current understanding of physics, of space, of time itself." The Confederation's research teams began processing the information. What had seemed like technological misdirection was actually a global defense strategy of unimaginable complexity. Every technological demonstration, every carefully constructed communication, had been part of a larger preparation. Humanity had developed technologies not to assert dominance, but to prepare for a threat that could destroy entire galactic civilizations. Jack Thompson's holographic display showed the true scale of human preparation. Global infrastructure, quantum communication networks, advanced research facilities, all had been developed with a single purpose: survival. Emma Rodriguez tracked the galactic response. Confusion, fear, reluctant admiration. The transmission continued. Catherine detailed the nature of the approaching threat, a dimensional convergence that would fundamentally reshape physical reality. Energy patterns that could unravel the fundamental structures of space-time, a cosmic event that existed beyond current scientific understanding. "We are not asking for help," Catherine stated clearly. "We are offering collaboration, because this threat does not distinguish between civilizations. It threatens everything." The Confederation's diplomatic networks went into emergency session. Humanity had transformed from a mysterious emerging civilization to a potential savior of galactic existence. Ambassador Zelra realized the profound implications. Humanity's silence had not been about isolation. It had been about preparation. As the transmission concluded, a fundamental truth became clear. Earth had been working not just for its own survival, but for the survival of every civilization in known space. The silent preparation was over. A new chapter of cosmic collaboration was beginning. And the galaxy would never be the same.